Hey everybody, we are going to make a strawberry rhubarb pie today because we are in Illinois and it is strawberry season. And there's nothing better than fresh strawberries, except for maybe rhubarb. Rhubarb's the first thing that comes in season in our area that you can make a pie out of. But I always resist the urge to make it until the strawberries come in because I do like rhubarb custard pie, but wow, when you mix it with strawberries, it's just awesome. So I don't know if you guys know about rhubarb, but this is actually what it looks like when it grows on the plant, and then you cut it off. And these leaves here are poisonous. Now, I don't know if you buy this in the store, if it comes with the leaves removed already or not, but if it doesn't, it's really easy. Small stems like this are usually pretty tender, but if you get some bigger ones like this, still makes an awesome pie. But if you get bigger ones like this, what you'll want to do is you'll want to take a little knife, and the most fibrous part on it is here along this flat, not the curved side. And you just want to grab it like this and watch. Just peel that off there. And it comes off really, really easy, especially if you have a little knife where you can get a hold of it. And then anything like this, you'll want to trim that off of there. See that brown? You'll just want to trim that off of there. Now, ones that are this big, I've already done everything else, but ones that are this big, I would actually take and I would go straight down the center like this, and I would split them. And then I just go ahead and cut them up, but we're not going to do that. But when you cut the leaf off, don't get too close to this end here because these leaves are poisonous and you don't want that. So just don't skimp on it. Leave yourself about a half of an inch and then cut it off. So we've got the rest of those done up here. So I'm going to hand this to Gino and he can get rid of it real quick. We don't need that. We're going to make two pies today because, hey, while you're doing it, you might as well do two because let's face it, with the sweet eaters in my family anyway, one pie doesn't last long. One pie is just like the taste and then there's none left over. So that's not a good thing, especially with, my dad and my son, and they all like sweets. So we're doing double. We have a double recipe. You can cut this in half. Maybe what I'll do is in the description, I will put the recipe for a single pie. And then if you want to double it, you can. I have 7 cups of rhubarb diced up. And you can see the ones that were a lot wider, I cut in half. And so they're all close to the same size. We want them to cook about the same time. So I have 7 cups of rhubarb. And we have 4 cups of strawberries. We're going to get going. So we're going to combine these two. Grab my scraper. We're going to combine these two. And I just slice these. You can see how thick those are. That's all a personal preference. But I don't like them too thin because they just seem to cook up to nothing once the pie is done. So we had 4 cups of strawberries, 7 cups of rhubarb, and we have 2 cups of sugar. It sounds like a lot of sugar, but remember, it's for 2 pies. And rhubarb is tart. I used to eat it just like that when I was a kid, and I love it. Some people dip it in sugar and eat it, and it's kind of like a sweet tart. It's like nature's candy. It's sweet and sour candy if you put sugar on it. And we're just going to give this all a mix up here, and we're going to let it sit and draw the juice, just like we do when we make an apple pie. But we want to kind of get that sugar coated on most of this rhubarb and the strawberries. We're going to let that sit there while we make up our crumb topping, and then we'll be ready to get these in our pie crust. Isn't that just pretty? I mean, it's not as pretty when it bakes because the strawberries aren't as bright, but wow, look at that. Okay, so now we're ready to make our crumb topping. I have 2 cups of flour in here, and like I said, this is all doubled, so I'll put in the description what it is for a single pie. 2 cups of flour, we have 2 sticks of butter, and 1 1/3 cups of sugar. Now, this is what we do. We always wing it. You know, like I said, cooking shouldn't be difficult. It's not. You can see we have 2 different kinds of sugar in there because we thought we had more brown sugar, and we don't. So we have 2/3 cup of packed dark brown sugar and 2/3 cup of raw sugar. And it's going to work out just fine. You wait and see. So we're going to put our sugar in here. And we're going to get this mixed together. Oh, and I need I have a teaspoon of salt yet in here too, so we'll grab that in a second. Not that the world's going to end if you don't put the salt in there. There's a lump of brown sugar.
Did you say a half, Les?
Yeah, just a half if you want to throw it in here. I'm going to run through here with my hands just to make sure I don't have any more lumps of brown sugar. It's so much easier with your hands. Okay, we've got our 2 sticks of butter that I've cubed. And it is getting a little soft, but it'll be okay. We're going to dump that in here. And I'm going to give this a stir and try to get flour worked in between all this butter. And then we're going to work it up into a crumble. So the crumbs are about pea-sized. I do want to get my butter coated as much as I can first. And then I'm probably going to get this fork out of here and do this with my fingers a little bit. It's usually just easier to feel what's going on. We're just going to crumble it. You just kind of want to mush that, and you don't want to have your fingers on the butter too long because you're not looking to melt the butter, and your hands, especially if they're as hot as mine are all the time, will melt the butter. So I'm just going to get this worked down a little bit in here, and then I'll get the fork back in to finish it. But we're just gonna work on that, just kind of crumbling it. And we're working that flour and sugar into that butter, but we're not actually squeezing. You know, we don't want to melt the butter and squish it. We're not trying to make pie crust. We actually just want a crumb topping. I'm going to get back in here with a fork now, and we'll show you guys what it looks like when it's done. This isn't rocket science, you guys. You know, everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't have any pieces that are smaller than pea size. Well, you know what? Sometimes you end up with bigger pieces than smaller pieces. And you know what? It cooks on the pie, and it usually turns out fine. People are too picky about stuff, you know. It's going to look fine. It's going to taste awesome, I guarantee you. Okay, so we let these sit for a half an hour so that they could draw their juice. And you can see there is quite a bit of good juice in there. Those strawberries were really ripe. To this, I have to add a thickening agent. And I don't have any minute tapioca, which works really good. And you can substitute cornstarch instead. So I have a half a cup of cornstarch, which for a single pie, it would only be a quarter. But we're going to mix this in there. And the reason why we don't use flour is because flour, when it cooks, like when you make gravy out of flour, it actually gets like a milky look. And cornstarch, when you make gravy, which is basically what we're doing here, we're making fruit gravy, it actually ends up clear. And that's just how we want it. We want that nice, clear, thick, red strawberry rhubarb glaze in our surrounding our filling. So we're just going to get this stirred in really good here. Just about ready to put these babies in the oven, so we're going to put our topping on. And if you can see, I did not smooth these all out nice and flat because I don't like that. I like places where, you know, where the fruit might bubble through the top of the crumb topping, and, you know, I don't like any, you know, things aren't supposed to be perfect all the time. Some things I'm a perfectionist with, but some things are better if they're imperfect. Okay, how do those look to you?
They look wonderful.
Good? Okay, so we're going to put these in the oven. They go into a 400-degree oven, and they only go in there for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees, and then we're going to turn it down to 350, and it'll go for another 45 or 50 minutes just until they look like they're done. You know, that filling is going to get all bubbly, and you're going to see that, and, you know, and your top's going to get brown, and then you know they're ready, and they'll start smelling really good right before they're done. We have been in for 20 minutes, and we're just going to take these. We're going to rotate them around. Oh my gosh, you guys, you want to know what? It's already starting to smell good. And then we're going to put these back in, turn us down to 350, and let them go. We are done, you guys. Now we just got to let it cool so Gino doesn't burn himself for the taste test. We don't have time enough to let this cool long enough that it isn't going to just fall apart when we take it out of here. But Gino's got to get to work, so we're doing the taste test before it sets up. So it's going to be ugly. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It's still going to taste really awesome. Oh my God, you guys, it smells unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. And I prefer it with the crumb topping. This is just out of this world. You got to try this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. And until next time, God bless y'all.